All right, shalom to everybody. Shalom to everybody. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week full of love and life and light and experiencing all that has been provided for us. Truly, the Creator has done marvelous things, and I hope that you're recognizing it and feeling it. I hope that you're already beginning to grow in it. We've just begun a long journey, and that journey comes with many processes. We're going to be looking at some of those over the next months. We're going to, I think, maybe in a new way, we're going to begin to take a little bit more authority of our life back. There's lots of stuff out there that are almost a cheap salvation, if you would, and ascending to a higher me is really not necessarily an easy task, but it's also not an undoable task, but it does require some work. It requires a whole lot of mindfulness, and so I hope that you guys will I hope that you guys are blessed and you'll come along for the ride. We're going to see things that we never in our wildest dreams even imagined that humans could see. And so I encourage you to begin. If you haven't begun, then by all means, I would encourage you to do so. And if you have already begun, then by all means, I would encourage you to continue. And hopefully I'll be able to bring some things that are real world, put your hands on things that you can actually begin to do to help yourself. I don't think that in many ways, maybe, not that we're bad people, because we're not, but I really think there's a lot of things that we don't recognize, don't understand in the spirit realm that are, well, I don't know how to say it. If I don't know if saying it, that are against us, but I think that you'll find out that that actually is very true. And so I want us to learn how to function in the realm, not how to just function. And that's a different beast and animal altogether. So we're going to be back tonight in the Gospel of Thomas. I have had several people ask me about us continuing on with the Naked Bible, and if you guys are okay with that, I don't think there's anything in there that's going to be bad for you. I think that, you know, I'm desirous for us to learn, but alas, learning how to walk in a process that you've never known you have to open your mind up and understand you're going to encounter things that you don't know anything about. And that's okay if we'll just be honest and admit that. And I am recognizing that there's a lot that goes with this mindset belief system. Really the question that we're looking at is, how do I, okay? And I don't say that everything isn't for a purpose, but the real question I think that we should be probing more than any is, how do I become what I already am? And while if you don't know me and you haven't been a part of us for a while, then that may seem like a really weird question. It's not. And as we go along, if you'll hang out with us, you'll begin to see that there's a lot of stuff going on in this world that's supernatural that people don't have any answers for. And I don't want somebody to give me the answers. I want to learn how to get the answers myself. And those answers have to come from the other world, and they come from our higher self. And so there's already lots of things that are kind of being exposed that we have to protect ourselves from, some things that may not necessarily be right, although they're very common. And I have a desire to learn how to do this right. I did Christianity right. When I lived Christianity, I lived it. And when I believed it, I believed it. And as a famed person once said, there also is a time when it's time to let go. And so it's up to us to learn how to discern those things and know when to go and when to stop. And that's can be a very, very heavy struggle. But I'm going to make it easier, and there's other people that are going to make it easier for us. Mostly the Creator is going to make it easier for us. I would have to say to you that He's quite excited for what's going on, and He's quite excited for what's coming. So I hope that you also will show the spirit of your Creator, and you also will begin to let the flame inside of you begin to blow brighter and brighter and brighter. And so those are kind of general ways of saying things, and maybe you get an idea, but maybe not really at all. So we're going to see some really beautiful things. We're going to see, once again, the Master Isa, the lack of better words, the Buddhist, the Taoist, ascended master who constantly is coming through in the light plane. And so let's join him and meet. I would, as we've often done in the past, I would like for us just to take time to clear ourselves. And so we're going to close our eyes together, and I'll just have you I'll have you breathe in a huge breath from your nose, hold it a second, and then just release that out of your mouth. And when you do that, whatever you've been dealing with today, whatever stress, whatever confusion, I want you to breathe in the light of the eternal, and I want you to release that anxiety, that stress, that just every day what we live in, just functioning as humans. And then we're going to proceed with verse 52 of the Gospel of Thomas. For those of you who may not have found it, we are using the Scholars Edition, which you can get online for free. So please do avail yourself to that so you can read along with us. So all right. How wonderful and wonderful and wonderful and wonderful it is that we have this great opportunity to do such things. So verse 52 of the Gospel of Thomas, yet again, Yeshua is doing as he's always doing, which is flipping everything for everybody upside down on their head. He was indeed an enigma, friends. He constantly dealt with people who thought they had a picture of things, only to find out that they understood nothing. And I suspect if you'd have been walking with him and you would have been on your road to enlightenment, you would have probably chuckled quite a bit at some of the things he said. So his disciples said to him, 24 prophets have spoken in Israel, and they all spoke of you. And he said to them, you have disregarded the living one who is in your presence, and you have spoken of the dead. Wow. How many times maybe do we kind of follow along those same lines? How many lines at times in the Bible have we referred back to Scripture that we now find are not trustworthy, if not all out and out lies? And yet we often have in our presence things that are true from the divine creator, the source, if you would. You'll hear me probably use that term more and more. It really is a much more appropriate verbiage for what our divine creator is. He is the source. Nothing happens that doesn't happen because of him. Nothing comes into your life, both good and bad, that doesn't come from him. There are no circumstances, happenstances, probablys, maybes, mights. Everything is orchestrated, both good and bad. The things that don't happen for us have a reason, and the things that do happen for us have a reason. The things that we want to happen that don't happen, there's a reason for that. I've begun, and while it's none of it's going to change the world on its own, but I've begun to learn to try to train myself. And so I do want to say this because it needs to be said over and over again. Friends, we have someone with us who I believe has been at least 70 years in Christianity. And you're not going to just unlearn all of those things that are planted inside of you overnight, and all of a sudden you become some ascended master. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that are telling people that you can do that. Just all of a sudden, you'll be supernatural. And I don't believe that. I believe that there is still a journey and a road that we have to walk on. I don't think that as many things have changed as what we really maybe even 2 months ago thought had changed. I see the Creator in all kinds of things that we just needed the mask. We needed another layer peeled off, just as we're going to have to do for ourselves. And you'll hear some of that and see some of that on Saturday if you come with us. We're going to go through an exercise, and I believe it's the first in at least 5 or 6 exercises over the next month or 2 months. And the purpose of it is that you learn how can you take control of your own life. How can you learn the true form of working towards ascendancy? We know that the Aaronic blessing is nothing but a totally metaphoric. I personally believe it's an incantation, which you guess in a positive light, you could actually call it even a spell. When you speak that in the universe, you begin to attract that to you. That's the whole purpose. That's why we're sitting here today, because a year ago, I began to quote that over the people, and we immediately began a journey of enlightenment from the very first time I spoke those words. And so there's an infinite more than we can see and more than what we know. And if we're not living in love and peace and walking in power, then we're really just wasting our time anyways. And there's lots of people that are wasting their time. And I don't want to be part of those, and I hope that you don't either. I suspect if you're still here, you probably don't. So, Yeshua wants them to recognize, I have to tell you, there's a piece of that, and if you really look at it, because I don't think he was a rude or a mean person, but I do think that he was very direct. And so if you look at what he said there, he kind of tells them, why are you talking to me about the prophets? And I almost get the hunch, maybe it's just my intuition picking up on that, but I almost get the hunch that he doesn't class himself in the same class as those people that Israel called prophets. Now, wouldn't that be a kick in the pants? That he is now separating himself from Elijah and separating himself from Elisha. He goes, what do those people have of importance? Although he already knew that everything is eternal. And so, when we begin to look at this in reality, the picture does really begin to morph. And so he says to them, you have disregarded the living one who is in your presence and have spoken of the dead. Wow, that's a profound statement. And so how often maybe have we also done the same? How many times has the Creator put somebody in front of you that because you couldn't see it, you dissed or you walked away from or you didn't listen or any of the things, you didn't accept the things the Creator sent for you. And oftentimes when that gets encountered, what happens is the Creator also moves that person out of your life so that you no longer get an opportunity. I gave you an opportunity and you refused it. And so his disciples then said to him, is circumcision useful or not? So do you see do you see kind of the tracking here? All they can do, this it's so weird for me to say these things. All you hear is these Hebrews who believed in everything that the Torah said, and they keep throwing these things at him, and he keeps telling them, I don't care about that. I don't care about the prophets. They're dead. I'm here and alive, and you can't recognize who I am. And so his disciples said to him, is circumcision useful or not? This is a mind-boggling creator source statement that he makes here, friend. This totally proves that everything I've been showing you is 100% in order, just exactly as it's supposed to be. Listen to Yeshua's response to his disciples about circumcision. Paul's words are very pale compared to what Yeshua says. And he said to them, if it were useful, their father would produce children that were already circumcised. That's huge. I tell you, Yeshua did not connect, or was he connected in any form with any Judaism. He said to them, if it were useful, I want you to see the context here. Their father. What does their father connote? What does that say? By saying their father, he does not relate that to being his father. He did not say our father. He said, if it were the case, their father would change what's done, but he doesn't, and he doesn't say it, but he certainly implies it, but their father doesn't have the power to even change that. So if it were useful, their father would produce children already circumcised from their mother. So it sounds much to me, coming out of these in context, it sounds like to me that yet again Yeshua is showing you why he spent 15 years in India and in Tibet and in China studying Buddhism and Taoism and Hinduism and Zen and all of the other ancient Enlightenment religions. So listen to what he does say, though. And this is for you, brothers and sisters, and this is for me. Rather, the true circumcision in spirit has become profitable in every respect. So he actually paints a picture there. If you will look at the paradox, he paints the picture that their father's words, their meanings, their beliefs, their Torah, their wisdom, their religion, their understanding has zero value. But what goes on from our spirit? Remember, this is the same guy that told you point blank verbatim that you are already light. The only thing there is left for us is to explore how to expose that, how to remove the hindrance. Today, while I was working on some writings for the coming weeks, I recognized that where we are in a spiritual state in many levels is very akin to the statement that was made about Abraham's wells when his son said, we must go dig back the wells because they have become full and they no longer produce water. And that's where we are. Our wells have been filled up with a lot of lies, a lot of false teaching. You don't know who you are. You're looking for anything that will paint a story for you of what you are. And unfortunately, when that happens, the mass majority of people are going to end up worse than they were wherever they came from. Because now you're totally lost. Everything it took you 60 years to believe, now it's thrown away, and what you're choosing is not correct either. Wow. So rather, the true circumcision in spirit has become profitable in every respect. And Yeshua said, congratulations to the poor, for to you belongs heaven's domain. You could argue that his statement there of the poor, once again, you notice he constantly acts as if he's enamored by the Ebianim. In Hebrew, the Ebianim were the ones that he was speaking of when he spoke of blessed are those who are poor in spirit. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with your spiritual state inside of you. And he validates that that's true right here again. Congratulations to the poor, for to you belongs heaven's domain. So now let me ask you a question. I don't think anybody that I know believes that. Because if they did, they would cease from their constantly trying to get. Constantly trying to get. He says, oh, see, you don't understand that those who have nothing are the only ones that have something. It's the same way with your mind and tied to meditation. It's only when your mind says nothing that you can actually say something. And those are very strong principles that exist everything through spirituality. And so everybody's trying to be something, and in reality it makes them nothing. While there are others who are not trying to be anything, and it makes them everything. Please listen to those words and ponder that. This isn't what you think it is, nor does it function like you think it does. And probably not like people are telling you it does. Jesus said, Whoever does not hate father and mother cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not hate brothers and sisters and carry the cross as I do will not be worthy of me. So we have him here talking about those that are poor in spirit. Humble would be another way to say that. And then he shows us again of another picture, as is said of him, the suffering servant. I don't always ring true with this as much as I would like to, friends, but when we're suffering is when we're the most close to the Creator. And I know very few people believe that because they're very seldom glorying in their suffering. If you really believed inside of you what the truth is, you would believe that the suffering is more beneficial than all the blessings you could have. He knew that. Many, many gurus and monks all over this world know that to this day. They will tell you the teachings I just said is what they lived their life by. It's what he lived his life by. So the concept of what does it mean? Because the commandments tell us that you're to love your mother and your father, and you're to honor them, and you're to obey them. Is he teaching that we should disrespect? No, dear one, you don't understand the principle. He's not talking about physical. And the only way that that rolls over into physical is if you're willing to take your parents over the truth. And I know lots of people that are. I know lots of people that will do all kinds of things for their parents to not make their parents hear the truth, hide it from them. How can you love someone when you begin to learn truth? How can you love someone in light of them? There's no way that you can. People that lie hate the people they're lying to. 56. Jesus says, whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass. Friends, we are starting to recognize the carcass. This world, this human experience, which is nothing but a movie, we live in a false reality TV show. Because none of this that is your life is real in the first place. And it's only when you come to recognize that you actually can free yourself. The Matrix movie, whether it's exactly point for point correct, is not the issue. The point is the issue that they expose is in fact true. So whoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass. And whosoever has discovered a carcass of that person, the world is not worthy. Until you begin to see the death that is this human life, you don't know anything. That's why we're told in another place, when you think that you know anything, you don't know anything like you ought to know it. And I've looked a lot, and I go, wow, I don't know any scripture that's truer than that scripture is. So whosoever has come to know the world has discovered a carcass. And in our flesh, we're part of this world. But we can't see that we're dead. This is nothing. It's nothing. It's a temporary little opportunity for humans to figure out who they are and make a decision about what comes after this. And the problem is unfortunately there is much teaching that is going to put you into a place, if you listen to this and continue with it, that you're going to end up back down here over and over and over again. And we'll get into talking about soul contracts. Many of you don't understand that we are under contract. We are under vows that were made 5 lifetimes ago by us, and we're under vows that were made 1,000 years ago by our family members. There is a way to break those things. But I remember in Austin as a Christian pastor being ordained by the Pentecostal Church of God and teaching about genetic curses and nobody believing that it was true. And Jesus said the imperial rule. Can I ask a question? Why would he have said the imperial rule if he was talking about the 10 Commandments? The 10 Commandments are not the imperial rule. The 10 Commandments are the Jewish rule. They even tell you you don't have to live by them. It's been right there in front of you. Every Jewish rabbi I've ever met will argue with you that you have no right or authority to keep the 10 Commandments. And he's not talking about the Torah, friends. The imperial rule. I'll bring that in the next week or two. I'll bring that and actually show y'all in another society what that imperial rule is. So the Father's imperial rule is like a person who has good seed. His enemy came during the night, and they sowed weeds amongst the good seed, and the person did not let the workers pull up the weeds, but said to them, "No, otherwise you might go to pull up the weeds and pull up the wheat along with them. For on the day of the harvest, the weeds will be conspicuous and will be pulled up and burned." And so we all know that as being one story. It's drastically slightly different in the book of Matthew than it is in the Gospel of Thomas, which predated the book of Matthew by at least 100 years. So I would say what you read in the book of Matthew is a whole lot closer to being a lie than what you read in the book of Thomas, which is why the Roman church doesn't want you to know that you're being lied to. Jesus said, "Congratulations to the person who has toiled and has found life." What does that mean? Does that mean because they worked hard, they found out what life was really all about? Does that mean because they worked hard, they made lots of money, and they really finally found the life, man? They found the American dream. American dream's all about materialism. Has nothing to do with good or spiritual or beneficial to other humans. It's all about I, me, mine, and how much can I make? How big a house can I get? How nice of a car can I get? How much can I brag about all the things that I'm blessed to have? Christianity's full of that nonsense. Congratulations to the person who has toiled and has found life. Kind of funny and ironic, wouldn't you say, that I just shared with you guys that to find true enlightenment, which is actually to find true life, involves some work, and that there's a lot of snake oil teachers out there teaching you a cheap salvation just like they did in Christianity. You just do this and you don't have to do nothing. Dear one, I'm telling you, it's not the truth. Huh? Absolutely. Yeshua said, "Look to the living one as long as you live. Otherwise, you might die and then try to see the living one, and you will be unable to see." So I would put a sense of expediency. If you think I'm just full of it and blowing hot air, I will tell you that there are a lot of people, and some of the things I can be okay with, but some of them just are not right, and my spirit knows it, and I go through spells of being uncomfortable and fighting in inner turmoil because I see and hear things and it's not right. It's not true. I don't know why I have intuition like I do, but I do know when something spiritually makes me uncomfortable, that means that it's not true. Look to the living one as long as you live. Otherwise, you might die. And then try to see the living one, and you will be unable to see. Now that depends on how you want to break that down. There's several different perspectives you could have about that verse and what it is he's actually saying. So I'll lay it out to you like this. He says, look to the living one while you're alive. What does that mean? What does it mean, look to the living one? Does that mean look to you? Does that mean look to the physical body? Does that mean look for the guru that can tell you the way to get salvation for cheap? Is that what that's about? Or is he really telling you, you better begin to look at the divine source and begin to worry about the divine source while you're still alive? Although there's lots of people that are telling people, and it's very, 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 very exaggerated right now, that everybody is okay, and no matter what you did, it's all going to be all right. And I'm sorrowful, friends, if Yeshua was an ascended master, that's not what he's saying. In fact, he's saying just exactly the opposite of what all of these people are selling. He's not the only one. So what does it mean then if I don't find the light, if I don't find the living one, the divine creator, the source is the living one? And if I don't find him while I'm alive, I'm being told that I'm going to end up in his presence and everything's going to be wonderful, happy. He's so kind. He's so glad that I showed up and yada, 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 yada. But that doesn't seem to be what the ascended master Yeshua is saying at all. In fact, he does give us a point that there is a place where people will not be able to see the Father, contrary to popular New Age belief. And he's not the only one who says that. Verse 60. He saw a Samaritan carrying a lamb and going to Judea, and he said to his disciples, we don't know what this says because these are ancient texts, and unfortunately in ancient texts, this is one until they find another text that has those words in there. We don't really know what the context of this is, so we will see the verse and then we will just move on. The next verse kind of alludes and ties to, so maybe we can draw a little bit, but it is open for debate at that level, okay? I just want you to see that. They mark that the words are missing. They weren't readable. Very much the same as it is with the Dead Sea Scrolls. But let's look at what the next verse says, because maybe we can gain a little insight there. And they said to him, so that he may kill and eat it. And he said to them, he will not eat it while it is alive, but only after he has killed it and it has become a carcass. We're back to the carcass. The world is a carcass. And they said, answering to him, responding, otherwise he can't do it. That's the guy who has all the answers after everything's already done and still gets it wrong. And he said to them, so also with you. Seek for yourselves a place for rest, or you might become a carcass and be eaten. Seek for you a place where you can find rest. Friends, do you understand how many times we are told that we are to follow after peace and pursue it? Can I ask you Christian guys, or ex-Christian guys, for those of you that are, can I ask you a question? You've lived most of your life, and yet you've never even come to peace. I've been blessed and gotten an opportunity to speak with some people that in 2 months' time, they maybe have more peace than they've had their whole life. Could you ask yourself why that is? Certainly there has to be a reason. And if you are experiencing that peace, you haven't even seen nothing yet, friend. As we grow and as we learn and as we do the works and as we work mindfulness and as we work meditation and as we learn, we're going to find a place of peace where it doesn't matter what goes on in this world. It no longer matters. If you're a Republican and I told you today that the spirit world has already said Donald Trump is not going to win, that this is already, it's already over with, and it hasn't even started. I don't say that that's the case, but I do say that there are people who are speaking from the spirit world who say that is the case, not me. So also with you. Your journey should be about finding the place of rest. That's why he told me a month ago, you have finally found home. There will not be another version of anything for me. This is home. Or you might become a carcass and be eaten. There are some things that are starting to come to the forefront which are quite troublesome for me, to be quite honest with you, not because I don't personally care. I don't think that I'm going to be deceived, but they're quite troublesome for me because they're starting now to become pictures that are being formed that much of the teaching is going to put you into servitude, which you've already been in for a long time. But it's going to put you, that there are things that are being taught that this is the good way that you should want to go. And there are people that are screaming out from the spirit realm, do not do that. They are putting you into bondage. And if I told you what they were, it would shock you. So seek for your place of rest. If the things which have been spoken by spirit through channelings and other various forms, then that statement begins to make a lot of sense. Once again, it's another paradigm flipped on your head. And Jesus said, 2 will recline on a couch, and 1 will die, and 1 will live. What does that mean? Does it metaphorically mean that you two are going to be hanging out smoking a joint on a couch and one of you is going to end up croaking over and the other one's going to continue to walk around? Or is he not talking about life on this earth? See, if that's your immediate thought reaction, then that's a proof to you that you're carnal minded. You're still functioning of the world. You're still part of the world. You still believe that the life you live is real. Two will recline on a couch, and 1 will die, and 1 will live. What is he talking about? He's alluded to this 3 times in the last 4 verses of death. Well, I thought all the spirit leaders and all of these people are telling us there is no death, and there is no hell, and there is no any of these things. Everybody's it's going to be happy, happy, happy. But here we have somebody who knew something maybe that we don't, who continues to tell us that there is a line between those that are light and those who are not light. Because inevitably that's what he's saying. And Salome, I don't know how many of you know of Salome. And Salome said, "Who are you, mister? You have climbed onto my couch, eaten from my table, as if you are from someone." And Yeshua said to her, "I am the one who comes from what is whole." And so if you'll just take that and ponder on the beauty of that and the love of that and the kindness of that, friend, can I give you a message today? If your heart's desire is to walk to the light, you also are one of those people. I can't say about the others. I am not saying anything about the others that he's talking about. But I am talking about those who are hungry as can be for the truth and who want the light more than anything. And so he says, "I am the one who comes from what is whole," the one. Maybe some of you have heard in your studies, or maybe you don't study and you haven't heard, but if you have studied, you have heard that all of us are connected. Every human being is connected to the source. All of us. That's why he said, when you love yourself, you love your neighbor, and if you hate yourself, you hate your neighbor. And that's going to come out very soon in something I'm working on for you, which will actually help you quite a much if you'll take a hold of it. So I am the one who comes from the hold, and I was granted from the things of my Father. See, how many people are living on this world right now who have no knowledge of what they are? I would say, if we were really honest, we could all question, do we really know yet who we are? And I don't think we do, but I think we've left the port, if you would. We might be on a journey, but we have left the port, which puts us in many cases way ahead of a lot of people. And so he says, "I am the one who comes from what is whole." See, from what is whole, that which is not divided. He is one. Yah, Asher, Yah. I am the one. I am the one that is. I am the one that will be. I am the one that can be what I desire to be. And most of you haven't heard that, but that is actually almost more appropriate than the other two of who the Creator is. He is the one that can be whatever he wants to be. And so the one that's with him says, "I am your disciple. For this reason, I say, if one is whole," look at it. It's right there in front of you, friends. I'm not lying to you. I have a desire to help everybody who will listen and wants help to find who they truly are. I could imagine a world where we as light beings are going all over this world, and that we have the power and the capacity to radically change the world into love. For this reason I say, if one is whole, one will be filled with light, but if one is divided, one will be filled with darkness. So what does that mean? Unless me and the light, me and the source, me and the divine, unless we are in alignment, not separated, unless we are in alignment, friend, then we are separated. That's pretty huge. It's really beautiful if your heart is to get in alignment with him. But if not, so see, let me show you another scripture where it's actually John who says this. I believe it's John. And he says that God is love, and in him is no darkness. What does that mean? He's telling us, but if one is divided, one will be filled with darkness. The Father's not divided. That's why there's no opportunity. And if you are one with him, if you are walking in your light, if you are walking in the realm in which he created for us to exist, then there can be no opportunity for there to be darkness in you either. Because you're one with the whole. Jesus said, I disclose my mystery to those who are worthy of my mysteries. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. And that's certainly a totally different inflection than what you get over there in the Gospels. That parable is used, but it's not in any way remotely close to being the same. 63, Jesus said, there was a rich man who had a great deal of money, and he said, I shall invest my money so that I may sow, reap, plant, and fill my storehouses with produce, that I may lack nothing. These were the things he was thinking in his heart, but that very night he died. Anyone here that has 2 ears had better listen. Someone was receiving gifts. When he had prepared the dinner, he sent his slave to invite the guest, and the slave went to the first and said, my master invites you. And the first replied, some merchants owe me money, and they are coming to me tonight. I have to go and give them instructions. Please excuse me from dinner. Okay, so we have merchants first off. A merchant. Please excuse me from dinner. And the slave went to another and said, my master has invited you. The second said to the slave, I have bought a house and I have been called away for a day. I shall have no time. The slave went to another and he said, my master invites you. The third said to the slave, my friend is to be married and I am to arrange the banquet. I shall not be able to come. Please excuse me from the dinner. The slave went to another, and he said, my master invites you. And the fourth said to the slave, I have bought an estate, and I'm going to collect the rent. I shall not be able to come. Please excuse me. The slave returned and said to his master, those whom you invited to the dinner have asked to be excused. And the master said to his slave, go out on the streets and bring back whoever you find to dinner. Must be something mighty wonderful about being nothing, friends. What I keep seeing is in the spirit realm is that those that are nothing always end up being something. Buyers and merchants will not enter the places of my Father. How many people, if you've talked to anybody, how many people have laughed at you or mocked you or closed you off or walked away from you or acted as if they didn't believe you? If you have experienced that, don't be of concern about it. There have been many, much more potent than you, who refused. Better that you should be one who was invited. And a person owned a vineyard and rented it to some farmers so they could work it, and he could collect his crops from them. And he sent his slave so the farmers would give him the vineyard's crop, and they grabbed him, beat him, and almost killed him. And the slave returned and told his master. And his master said, perhaps he didn't know them. He sent another slave, and the farmers beat that one as well. And then the master sent his son and said, perhaps they'll show my son some respect, because the farmers knew that he was the heir to the vineyard. They grabbed him and they killed him. Anyone here with 2 ears had better listen. So if you think somehow all of a sudden, listen, when what is obscure and strange now becomes mainstream, friends, it's the same thing as the last mainstream. It's a lie. And unfortunately, I see that picture kind of going on. And the picture is all mainstream about how easy everything is. Have to do nothing. There's no work. There's no involvement. I have no responsibilities. And Jesus said, show me the stone that the builders rejected. That is the keystone. And Jesus said, those who know all but are lacking in themselves are utterly lacking. Jesus said, congratulations to you when you are hated and persecuted, and no place will be found wherever you have been persecuted. And Jesus said, congratulations to those who have been persecuted in their hearts. They are the ones who have truly come to know the Father. Wow, that's a pretty significant statement right there, friend. So you mean it's not all the ones, all the glitz and glamour, and it's all easy and all of that stuff? It's not those people that know the Father? Is that a warning to us? Because it certainly flashes red for me as a warning. And when we see a warning in the spirit realm, don't you think that we ought to pay heed? He that has ears to hear. So congratulations. I love this because this is a picture of something that I just said earlier, friends, and it's not our nature. Certainly not what we were taught. In fact, we're taught just exactly the opposite, right? We're joyous, we're happy when everything's going well, when we do well, when we make a lot of money, when we have nice things, when we that's when life is really good. That you must be successful because you have all of these things. And yet look at the deal. Did he say congratulations when you make a lot of money and you're real popular and everybody likes you and you have 10 million views? And is that when he said that he congratulated you? Or does he not offer he doesn't offer condolences, he offers congratulations. And who does he offer the congratulations to? And then we could ask ourselves the question, well, does he only congratulate those people? You should ponder these things if you're being mindful. Congratulations to those who have been persecuted in their hearts. He didn't say a word about in your physical body. And then you think about the chakras and you recognize the potency of your heart chakra. Everything comes out of your heart chakra. They are the ones who have truly come to know the Father. Congratulations to those who go hungry. See, we've been taught our whole lives that that's the time when you should weep and moan, and that's horrible. And that's a giveaway to us. It's a giveaway to us as to who we are. It's a giveaway to us as to who this society is. When the only time you can find happiness is when you're successful according to the world's standards. What about the person that you walk by and you diss them because they don't have anything? What does the Master say about that? They are the ones who have truly come to know the Father, is what he says about that. Congratulations to those who go hungry, so the stomach of one in want may be filled. And I'll have to tell you there that paints the most beautiful picture, the most perfect picture, and we don't like it. But that's the most perfect picture right there, my friend, of what it truly means to love your neighbor as yourself. If you would want food, then it's our responsibility to help people that don't have food. Not an if. And Jesus says, if you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what do you have within you will kill you. Wow. Deep, deep, deep. It's like, be careful, dog paddle, you're going to drown. Jesus says, I will destroy this house and no one will be able to build it. See where you get that one? Versus where did you hear that in the New Testament? Jesus walking along with his disciples, and he walked past the temple on the way to Gethsemane. He walked past the temple, and they're talking about how glorious the temple is, how wonderful the temple is, and he supposedly looks at it and says, there will be a day when this thing will be destroyed and not one stone will stand upon itself, but I will rebuild it in 3 days. And they condemned him for speaking against the temple. But what if his statement that he actually made prior to the corruption of the Christian Gospels, what if his true statement had to do with this? I will destroy this house, the flesh, and no one will be able to build it. We've already know, Paul clearly tells us metaphorically that, don't you know that your body is the house? What does that house house? It housed the light of divine source. That's what lives inside of you, is the light of the divine source. A person said to him, tell my brothers to divide my father's possession with me. And he said to the person, mister, who made me a divider? I didn't come here to divide anything. I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your banker. I came here to bring unity, to bring the whole, so that everyone who would align with the whole would also be whole. And he turned to his disciples and he said to them, I'm not a divider, am I? And Jesus said, the crop is huge, but the workers are few. So beg the harvest boss to dispatch workers to the field. And of course, we believe that that was all about, right? All the Christians were supposed to go into the highways and the byways and compel people to come into Christianity. How convenient was that? But if in fact what I just proposed and showed you is, he wasn't talking about Christianity ever. He was talking about being in the kingdom of light. So the crop is huge, but the workers are few. So beg the harvest boss to dispatch workers to the field. He said, Lord, there are many around us around the drinking trough, but there is nothing in the well. Jesus said, there are many standing at the door, but those who are alone will enter the bridal suite. So what is he doing again? He's again drawing us to a parallel. Whatever is mainstream, whatever is modern, whatever is the direction that everyone is going, is not the path. Jesus said, the Father's imperial rule is like a merchant who had a supply of merchandise and then found a pearl. That merchant was prudent. He sold the merchandise and bought the single pearl for himself. Have you known what that means? What is the most precious thing, friend? And each individual person, unfortunately, I think probably has to come to that decision for themselves. What is the most precious thing to you? Is it to walk in in union with the Creator? Is it to find out that you are a supernatural being just as He is? Because there's been a lot of work by a lot of different factions that are still working very hard, and in some ways even harder than they have in a long time, to deceive humanity. Yeshua said, the Father's imperial rule is like a merchant who had a supply of merchandise and then found a pearl. That merchant was prudent. He sold the merchandise and bought the single pearl for himself. The Father's imperial rule. So also with you, seek His treasure that is unfailing, that is enduring, and where no moth comes to eat and no worm destroys. And Yeshua said, I am the light that is over all things. Surely there are many in the scholar world, as well as in some of the metaphysical, I guess religious, I don't like to use that term, but those people that understand enlightenment, and many of them believe that all of these ascended masters are the same ascended master. I am the light that is over everything, all things. I am all. From me came all forth. And to me, all attain. Now, when we get to reading the Kabbalion again, which we will in a few weeks, you're going to find out a whole lot about the all. And it might quite surprise you about what he's really saying here. I am all, and from me all came forth. And to me all attained. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me there. Yeshua said, why have you come out to the countryside to see a reed shaken by the wind, and to see a person dressed in soft clothes like your rulers and your Elohim? They are dressed in soft clothes, and they cannot understand truth. Wow. Have you understood these things? The truth is here for us. The light is in us. It's us to learn how to function and understand that, and then to release that. That's why it's so wonderful when you hear these people that when they left their body in these near-death experiences, they said that it was uncomfortable when they went back into their body because they had expanded so much being outside of the human form. So in other words, we're kind of crammed inside of these human bodies for a little while. How amazing. How amazing, how amazing. There's so many amazing things that are all around us, that are going on, that we are. And yes, there's work. And I guess if you just don't want to work at all, then there's nothing anybody can do to help that want to be. But on the other side, if you're driven by the fire of the light inside of you, then you will have a desire to know the truth. And the truth will make you free. Well, I hope you have been blessed by these strange and hard sayings of Yeshua. And I hope that you've gotten some good out of it. Friends, we're on the edge of something that's great and mighty and amazing and wonderful. And of course, we're living in the world. We're living in the carcass. The chaos that you see, the struggles and the lies and the mistruths and the half-truths and the deceptions that go on because of religion. The same thing that goes on as far as politics. When it's all said and done, the truth is that all of these are being controlled by beings outside of our realm anyways. And so, if you look, you'll be able to see that is true. But what I hope you see more than anything is this. The divine creator source will come to us humbly and will present us gifts and will guard us with the hedge of protection. Have you noticed his love? Have you felt the warmth of his love around you? He's amazing. The love and the amazing, the knowledge that he is guiding, the knowledge that he does love us is just absolutely overwhelming. And he will guard us with a hedge of protection. He will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us. And in doing so, he will illuminate to us who we are, because we are him. And when he does so, he'll bring order, and you'll have peace. Doesn't mean you won't ever have conflict. Just simply means when you have conflict, you can still have peace. And he will give us comfort and sustenance. Comfort in that we can relax knowing that he loves us, and knowing that though bad things happen, he's with us. And in a world where the mass majority of people are struggling constantly with anxiety, and most are on some kind of drug, some shape, form, or fashion for anxiety, there's not much peace. And so, once again, the wholeness, the illumination and the wholeness concept of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will give us comfort and sustenance. He will lift up his wholeness of being, look upon you, and he will set in place all that we need to be whole. You see the wholeness theme again? To be whole with him. To be whole with him. Now, because we're separated from him, because we don't know who we are, we now, there's a fracturing. He is beginning the process. You could use the term, I guess, if lightly, if you wanted to, of redeeming. All of those who will. And he will lift up his wholeness of being, and he will look upon you, and he will set in place all you need. Everything that we need comes from inside of us through the universe. Everything that we need comes from, and we already possess it. And we will be whole or not divided. And complete. Shalom to each and every one of you. I hope you feel the presence of his love. I hope that you are working meditation, I promise you, the more you practice, the better you'll get. And the more you practice, then the better you get, the more you'll understand, and the more you'll learn, and the more peace you'll find, and the more you should want to do it. And if that doesn't work for you, well, keep doing it anyways, because eventually it will begin to work. Some people fall easy. And as you grow and as you learn, a lot of the things that have to be taught to help people continue meditation, the people who are teaching them no longer have to do those things. In fact, it takes me about 1, 2, 3, and I'm ready. I feel His Spirit already. Very, very, very simple. But it all comes from inside of you. And so I hope you guys will accept the truth and the reality. For those of you that do, what a glorious day this will be. When our eyes are opened and we can see. When we ascend to our higher selves. Listen, the greatest good is not that some spirit being tells you what to do. That's another one of those lies that's being propagated on people constantly. That's not what you're supposed to be looking for. They are there. They do have a purpose, but it's not significant in the scheme of things. What's important for you, if you desire to be successful, is to learn to know of who you truly are, your higher self. And you'll be seeing that we will be talking about such things for quite some time. What an amazing, amazing thing it is. We give our authority away to people, and then we're never prosperous. So, shalom to you guys. Good luck. I hope you have an amazing week. It's okay now to have luck. And I hope you do have luck. I hope you experience all that your heart can dream, all that you can imagine in your mind. May it come to you. Amen. Amen.